The education we went through was elite education. Education for a few, very few people. You can go and check how many children were in the primary schools by 1962. Very few. You can check how many children were in the primary schools, how many pupils were in the secondary schools. Very few. So the education at that time was for a smaller number of people, for a few people. But when we came in, we could not accept the idea of elite education. We had to insist on the mass education. That's what the previous speakers were talking about, what Mama was talking about, and what Honorable Kaduchi was talking about. So you have got multiple tasks. First of all, you are trying to make the economy recover from collapse. Secondly, you are trying to make the economy, the other phases I've told you about, to expand and so on. At the same time, you have got this big task of not just dealing with a small number of learners, but dealing with the large number of learners. If we are dealing with a smaller group of learners, we would have few teachers to teach them. And they could be paid very well, the few teachers, to teach a few. But what would be the impact on the country? You have heard what Honorable Kaduchi told you, that because of the mass education, in spite of all the problems we have, the literacy rate has gone from 43% to 76% now. So now, Muganda wagambira abali baseka. You remember the Lugero? Abali baseka bajje bandabe. Those who are laughing at our strategy. Now you see, literacy has gone up. So now, when you have this problem of dealing with the recovery of the economy, at the same time dealing with the bigger mass education, mass vaccination, because for everything we do is mass. We try to cover everybody. Mass vaccination, mass education, security for all, to bring peace in the whole country. All this needs money. So what do? This is where now bad planners bring the idea of, Banyankole call it okumemerera. I think Baganda call it okumamira. My people told me that in Luo, it is called poro. Sprinkling small. That strategy we don't accept. When we were in the bush fighting, we had a lot of problems, including hunger. We didn't have enough food. If you don't have enough food, what do? If you democratically starve everybody, what will happen when the enemy comes to attack you? That's why I would say, the little food which is there, give more to the people who are on duty today, the ones who are guarding the camp. So if you see the budget of water in 2006 and after, it was quite small compared to what we put in electricity and put in on the roads. Not because we didn't know that water is important, but if you can't do all, what do you do? Why not start with something that will help you to get to a higher level? Because electricity will mean more factories, more businesses, and that means more taxes and so on. This is the context I want you to understand. Of course, Mama told you other aspects, like for instance, the teachers in the private schools are getting less money, but they work more. That one is a challenge. So therefore, our intention is very clear. The economy is growing. You can see the economy is growing quite fast. You have seen inflation is low. Our target is to pay all the public servants well, but also increase the numbers of the public servants.
Of course, as a government, we shall do our part in formulating the necessary policies and enabling laws to have quality teaching and practice of the profession. In this regard, many of you are aware of the National Teacher Policy approved by the Cabinet in 2019, and subsequent to this policy is the National Teacher Bill 2024 that is now in Parliament for consideration before enactment into law. I encourage all teachers now to make their voices heard by contributing to the shaping of an enabling law that will regulate this noble profession of teaching. It is in your best interest to have safeguards in place for your profession to ensure that the right persons join it, that the profession is practiced in accordance with the expected standards, that those who go astray are also corrected appropriately, but also have provision to let go those who disregard what the profession really stands for. As I said earlier, the context in which the teaching profession is practiced has changed rapidly over the last 30 years, and there is enough evidence to show that this rate of change is not going to slow down any sooner. Therefore, as your voices air out your perspectives, I urge you to look to where we are and where we're going as a country. Do not get stuck in the past or present. You should ask yourself the question, what kind of country do I want to see? And what sort of teacher can help design that future we would like to see? Sometimes human nature holds us back from dreaming big because we only use the eyes of the past and present situation to judge what the future shall be. Our voices, and indeed that of teachers, have words, and words have creative power for either good or bad. King Solomon wrote in the biblical book of Proverbs, chapter 18, verse 21, saying, in quotes, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit," unquote. Let teachers use their voices to bring positive, creative, and innovative energy into the teaching profession. But I must say, that when you cannot envision the kind of country you want to see or your great-grandchildren to live in, you may not rightly speak into the kind of teaching profession you desire to make the education system catalyze the transformation journey to that envisioned future for our homeland.